Big Footy Tigercast fans, now hear me out. Now, I know that phrase sends off the bat signal and alarms with emergency symbols every time we say that on the show, but just hear me out for this one. Now, I know we've been talking about Finn O'Sullivan and Sam Lawler as the potential number one draft picks for the last few months, and even taking the other one at pick number 2 if we were to trade up with North Melbourne's picks. But what about Sid Draper from Adelaide? I feel like that he's been left a little bit behind in these conversations. And from my part, it's probably because I just kept thinking he was just going to go to Adelaide because he's from South Australia. But that's a pretty naive thought now that I sit back and think about it. So I thought we'd take a bit more of a deeper look at Sid Draper and what he has to offer. And honestly, watching his highlights compared to Draper's and Finn O'Sullivan's, and I know highlights are highlights, so I understand that. But based on the footage available, I'd actually almost lean towards Sid Draper at one ahead of the other two, just based on pure vision available. I like the fact that he's been playing against men in the Sandful competition and actually dominating, like averaging good numbers across the board, which we'll get to shortly. But it's his pace as well. So from a Richmond perspective, we all know how flat-footed and slow our midfield is, especially now we've lost Bolton. So we're kind of running with Taranto, Hopper. Maybe like a Jack Ross might roll through there. We've obviously lost Jack Graham, not that he was quick, but another midfielder nonetheless. So adding someone like Sid Draper in there who does have a bit of dash and a bit of toe could actually help regain the balance in our midfield, which I think we are desperately needing. So I just think he could be one to consider. Looking at the tail of the tape, strengths for Sid Draper: agility, clean hands, leadership, professionalism, speed and work rate. Improvements, durability, and end product. So I think he did have a shin stress fracture and a hip flexor complaint during the year that caused him to miss a few games. But what sparked my interest was the three topics there of leadership, professionalism, and speed. And to a lesser extent, work rate. So he is actually really good at repeat running and going both ways, which is obviously very important. And it's probably something I felt that we were missing desperately in our midfield last year. And that's why, as good as our defence played, it's why we got scored against so heavily, because our midfield just simply didn't work hard enough the other way. So to add that back into the midfield, I think is a really important thing to consider when talking about future draft picks. Taking a look at his under-18 championships. Now, he did play as an underager as well. So he played in 2023 and in 2024. So I'll read out both of those numbers. So in 2023, he played 4 games, averaged 24.8 disposals, 3.5 marks, 3.8 tackles, which is super impressive as a bottom ager playing in the under-18 comp. And for 2024, he averaged 21 disposals, 2.8 marks, 1.3 tackles. Not to mention as well that he obviously did play quite a lot at senior level as well. So looking at his senior numbers, he played for the South Adelaide Panthers and he was able to replicate some really good numbers as per what we saw in the under-18s. He was averaging 22.2 disposals, 3.7 inside 50s, 4.7 clearances, 4.5 score involvements and 6.2 tackles during a pretty good stint for South Adelaide. So taking out all kinds of different awards, was the captain for South Australia in the under-18s as well. I just think that Sid Draper is one that we should seriously consider. And I know we haven't had him in calculations for 1 or 2 if we were to get it for a while. But after doing a bit of research and looking at his highlights, you can't help but feel that he's the most impressive out of the 3. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm seeing things I want to be seeing. But let us know what you think in the comments. Should Sid Draper be a serious consideration for pick number 1 amongst Finn O'Sullivan and Sam Lawler? Let us know what you think. Keen to hear what everyone's thoughts are on Sid Draper.